The story will continue in a moment.
Tonight on 60 Minutes, we'll be talking about sports, legal and ethical issues, and tonight's topics are gender equity, sports gambling, cheating, and assumption of risk.
Hello, my name is DeAndre Cooper.
I'm Emma Hubert.
I'm Ryan Reitman, and this is Team Red.
Next are our interviews.
Today we'll be discussing legal and ethical issues, and we just want you to know that there's a difference between the two. Legal, for something to be legal, it's permitted by the law or based or concerned with the law. And ethical issues will deal with anything relating to a moral principle or the branch of dealing with these. So, for example, issues can overlap. For example, icing the kicker in football, that's legal, but it's not necessarily ethical because it gets in the mind of the kicker. Also, you have bat flipping in baseball. It might show disrespect to your opponent for flipping the bat. Up next, we'll be interviewing game changers from the Sports Business Journal about more legal and ethical issues.
Hello, Jim Kramer, Marketing Vice President of MLS. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
That's good. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. So, does the Family and Medical Leave Act protect you as a woman?
I believe that it protects my basic rights, but I'm not exactly sure if it's completely ethical.
What do you mean by that?
If I were to take my allotted leave and someone else were to get promoted in my place, that's very legal, but I'm not sure if it's ethical. I'm looking to create more women-friendly policies in the business environment, such as more flexible working hours.
Hi, Kathy Beauregard. I'm going to be asking you a few questions. I understand you're the DA of Western Michigan University. My first question is, I understand you have some adverse opinions on the standards of sports between men and women. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
I believe in the past there have been different standards between men and women, but I think that going forward, and I think right now, there has been a much more equal standard, and the industry needs to accept the fact that men and women need to be held to the same high standard.
Does that include equal pay?
Yes, absolutely it does. I think that the Equal Pay Act has been a great equalizer in the industry.
If you don't know what the Equal Pay Act is, it actually prohibits discrimination in wages between employees on the basis of sex for equal work on jobs that require equal skill, effort, and responsibility under similar working conditions. Also, what equal work is, it's actually with two jobs that do not have identical skill, effort, and responsibility. Instead, the jobs must be substantially equal except for the fact that one employee is paid more, even though he performs what is basically the same job. I'm Michelle Kennedy. I understand you're the Nashville Predators COO, and I'll be asking you a few questions. My first question is, I understand you like to follow sports in general a lot. What are some issues that you're closely following?
You know, anything with sports gambling is becoming a very, very popular thing. It's becoming a big part of the fan experience.
I believe you're referring to the Supreme Court's recent decision on cracking down on sports gambling. So now it's a state-to-state kind of law, but federal law is shut down. Are there any implications to this?
I think it's a very modern proposal, but being mostly online activity, this could attract many underage participants.
Hi, Rick Burton. I saw your article in the Sports Business Journal. I just wanted to ask you a couple questions today. I would like to start with how you think doping impacts the sports industry.
Well, first off, it's cheating, and it really hurts the sport. Not only that, it goes against the rules. So not only does it hurt the rules and the sport, it also hurts competitors' chances of getting sponsors.
Can you elaborate what you mean a little for me. I know that you mentioned Lance Armstrong in the article, how he took performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah, he got an advantage over his competitors. Not only that, he's hurting sponsors. He had the United States Postal Service that actually brought a lawsuit against him because it gave them a bad reputation, and it wanted nothing to do with that. And not only that, you have athletes like in the Olympics that are working for sponsorships all the time so they can help out with their income.
Are you referring to Christine Garrard, the Canadian women's weightlifter?
Yeah, in 2008 in the Olympics, she placed fourth in the competition, but then later the World Anti-Doping Agency ended up catching one of the top three competitors doping. So instead of fourth, she got bumped up to third. But this hurts her sponsorship chances because sponsors like to look at the top three competitors. But however, she was fourth, so she didn't really get looked at. However, she did luck out, but others aren't so lucky.
Thank you. How exactly does this hurt the athletes that aren't so lucky?
Because the top athletes, they have a ton of sponsorships, so they're just working full time for their sport. But then you have other competitors that aren't as big, so they're not getting as many sponsorships. So they have to have an actual job rather than just full time training. So not only that, if they don't get a sponsorship, they might struggle to put food on the table for their kids and for themselves because they're trying to do two things at once and it's just too much for them at once and they can't keep up with their income.
Thank you for all your time today.
Thanks. Hi, Abraham Madcourt. I understand you're the Sports Business Journal editor, and you recently wrote something about the NFL and its rule changes. What are your thoughts about concussions and these rule changes?
You know, the new rules may make the game frustrating for viewers, but they're trying to make the rules safer for players. They're going through a lot of trial and error phase, and they will eventually figure something out. So.
Do you think this has ruined the game at all?
I think the league has issues. There's no doubt about that. But however, you cannot compare the NFL to any other sport in America. Year in and year out, they bring in so many viewers and so much revenue. So.
Now I want to get back to the concussion topic. Do you think the NFL should be liable for these players' head trauma and concussions?
I believe it involves both sides. On a player standpoint, you have to take care of their health because at the end of the day, they're human. They have families and life after football. So going back to the rule changes, the NFL has to take care of players, so they might have to implement some rules we do not like, such as new helmet rule to keep players safe.
What about the NFL's argument about knowing the assumption of risk, so they already know what they're getting themselves into?
They should. It is a contact sport at the end of the day. The contracts do explain the assumption of risk, such as getting a concussion, and they do know what they're getting themselves into.
So what about the former players bringing lawsuits for concussions against the NFL?
You see, when the league first formed, there wasn't a lot of available information on concussions. However, this does not mean the NFL is completely excused from not being liable. Need to meet the players halfway and give them a safer game.
Thank you for joining us today as we interviewed our game changers.
We hope that you learned a lot more about legal and ethical issues based off our interviews.